The fact that to me, I feel like you've been in a lot of good recent anime from
Hmm.
Kaiju No. 8, from Blue Lock to even Solo Leveling and the
Hmm.
new My Hero Academia, your next movie. So I feel like this last few years you've been killing it, man. You gotta give you
Thanks,
props.
man. Thank you, man. I'm trying to, and it's never like I'm always like at a point where I'm like, I did it. I got to do what I always wanted to do. Like if for whatever reason, life were to take me out tomorrow for some reason, I'd be happy with what I've done. But I am always trying to chase that next thing I want to do. English voice actors aren't trained a certain way, or they don't go through the kind of trials and tribulations and then all the things that need to make a voice performance fantastic.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy, Raysean from the Raysean Gadson Anime Podcast, or RGAP for short. And on today's episode, we're interviewing special guest Alex Hom, a professional voice actor who is known for Blue Lock, Kaiju No. 8, and Solo Leveling. Join us as we dive into the world of voice acting, exploring Alex's personal journey and achievements, uncovering his anime origin story, and discussing our top 2 favorite movies. We'll also be discussing tips for anyone out there trying to get into voice acting. If that sounds interesting to you, then sit back and enjoy the ride. And don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you listen.
Well, you heard correctly then. Both Mr. Mean and Miss Cha turned me down. But not to worry. I'm negotiating with hunters from Europe and the Middle East as we speak. They're likely to sign if we agree to their terms. It will be similar to the case of Dong-Su Huang. Smart move.
Guess Isagi's found his weapon. He's got the ability to smell a goal. Oh, we beat them thanks to his last-minute point. Hey now! Speed training to get a jump on us? Huh? If Team C's top-ranked player is going to run drills, not only will I, but I'll also leave him in the dust!
The stress is taking a toll on her health. The food was cooked by the villagers. Their leader has been placed into custody on suspicion of aiding the barbarians. What now? Concubine Gyokyo. Word is she has a new lady in waiting.
Before we get started, I just want to allow my guests the opportunity to introduce themselves, basically tell everybody what you do, where you're from, and also tell us your top 2 favorite movies that can be animated or not.
How's it going, guys? My name is Alex Hom. I'm a voice actor based out in Dallas, Texas. And if we're going for favorite movies, it might be recency bias, but one of those is definitely Sonic 3, kind of repping Shadow right now on my shirt. Have to.
Okay.
And then another one, little unconventional. I really like Grand Budapest Hotel or anything Wes Anderson related. Those are really great movies, but yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. I think those Sonic movies, to me, those have really surprised me on how well they've been doing, and the fact that we've already to like the 3rd or 4th movie. I watched
Right?
the first one, and I haven't. I need to go back and watch the other ones, but I was surprised because I remember hearing recently that Jim Carrey like said he was done acting or doing the movies or something, and then they got him back to do that one. So I was like, I wonder if they just gave him inspiration, or if they just was like, we had tack on another 20 million, you know what I mean?
Yeah, part of it was
got him up.
part of it was probably money. I think it was like one of two things. One, he really loves the role as Eggman. He loves being it. And two, I remember he did an interview during the second movie where he said, "Yeah, I'm retiring from acting, but if for whatever reason somebody delivers me a script that's in gold ink and it just comes down from the heavens, maybe I'll do it." And it's funny, the director of the Sonic movie said for the third movie they delivered the script to Jim Carrey with gold ink on it, and I'm just like, that's perfect. And he's like, "Well, I have to now. I said I would." So
For sure. And that just shows how much respect Jim Carrey has in the acting game, man.
Right.
For them to actually go through all that and be like, we definitely need him for this movie. And he does kill the role, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
For my 2 favorite movies, I've chose some pretty old movies now that I think about it, since you went recently. For my first one, I don't know if you know about it, but it's August Rush.
Oh yeah, I've definitely heard of it. I don't think I've ever seen it though.
Oh man, it's an amazing movie. It's basically about a music prodigy that basically gets separated at birth from his parents, and he basically has to use his talents to kind of bring them back together at the end of the movie to kind of get his family back. And it's pretty cool. You get to watch the whole storyline of him basically starting in the orphanage and getting to the big city, and then getting that opportunity to basically perform at an orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was pretty cool. And it also has Robin Williams in it. So, that automatically gives it up there. And then Freddie Highmore, if anybody knows him from name, but he is the guy that plays the good doctor.
Mm-hmm.
He is the doctor, the main character person.
Okay. Very cool. That's a good cast list. I should look that up after this.
Oh, for sure. For my next one, I chose Pokemon, the first movie.
Excellent choice, man.
Man, I think a lot of the Pokemon movies are great, but this movie to me is crazy on how many world elements are mixed into this movie about Pokemon, from like slavery to like your clash between Malcolm X and Martin Luther King mindsets, from love to forgiveness, all wrapped up into this whole movie about Pokemons for kids. And then the older you get and rewatch it, you're sitting here like, man, this is ahead of its time type thing. Wow.
Dude, I need Pokemon movies to come back into movie theaters so we can start watching them in movie theaters again. Because that's when it felt like, a significant event and everything like that. And definitely the first one, that was so good.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. I wish I was at that time period where I could be like, I know how it feels when they were in the movie theaters, because I don't, man. I really wish I could have seen them in the movie theaters, because I feel like it would have been a whole new experience to the whole thing, man. Because a lot of the newer movies don't get the same love or the same attention to detail as those earlier movies do. They're still okay, and I don't want to shit on them, but they're not the same. They're not the same.
I feel you.
All right. Before we get into our interview, I want to go ahead and talk about what have you been watching or playing or listening to recently?
As far as watching, I kind of try to keep up to date on the current season animes on just mostly because that's where my work kind of revolves around, mostly anime. So I'm trying to like watch the series that I'm in to be knowledgeable about the series, but also just because I actually enjoy them. So I've been watching like Apothecary Diaries is one I'm in, and one I've been watching pretty consistently. That one's really great, just really good imagery, music, and world is fantastic in that anime. Aside from that, I've actually been watching, since I've never actually watched it before, I'm watching Fairy Tail with my girlfriend. She's watched it before, and she's like, you got to watch it. You got to watch all of it with me. And I'm like, okay, fine. I will. So that's kind of been on my back burner shows. And one of these days I will get into One Piece. I will watch all the way through One Piece. It'll take me some time, but I will definitely do it.
I feel you on that one.
Aside from that, playing wise, I'm actually streaming later tonight. I don't know when this video is going to go up, but I'll be streaming Metaphor Refantasio basically right after this interview. So if anybody is interested in watching me play that, that's going to be up there. That's going to be out on Twitch. But aside from that, bunch of Sonic games, bunch of other games that I've been putting on my streams. Nothing that kind of stands out too greatly right now, but yeah, that's kind of what I got going on.
For sure. Recently I've been doing a whole Dragon Ball Z rewatch. So I've just got done watching the Cell Saga, and we're moving on to the Buu Saga, and I pretty much like it. See, when I was doing a review on my channel, and I was basically breaking it down every 10 episodes and then doing an episode on my podcast, it was getting to the point where I was like, okay, this is getting a little tiring and stuff like that. So when it got to the point where I was like, okay, we're taking a break from it, let's wait and come back. For some reason, I didn't stop, and I just been keep watching the episodes and just taking the time to actually watch them. I feel like it's been giving me a better experience and stuff like that. So I'm trying to figure out a better way to rework that idea to do it, because I was like, I don't want to get to the point where I'm not liking what I want to do because I have to sit and review every aspect and be like, oh, did you see this? Or did you miss that? And you're like, oh, people have watched this about 30,000 times. If you missed this, like this is crazy.
Nah, I hear you. Being able to separate things that you want to enjoy on their own, as opposed to like what you might want to approach like critically or like review or stream or whatever it is. It's always an endless battle, because I'm like, I this is kind of mine. I want this for me, and this is what I can share with other people.
And kind of going into that, I've been trying to watch some stuff that people have been like, okay, this had bad animation, or they didn't like this, or stuff like that. And it made me go watch Blue Lock season 2, which took me a second to get to, because I love Blue Lock the first season. And to me, it was one of those animes to me that really surprised me, when it's like, how can you take a sports anime and still give it the same feel as like an action anime? And I really feel like they really pull that off in Blue Lock. For me to be like waiting for the next season, and then the first things you hear is like, oh, I can't believe the animation is this bad and all this. So I've been taking the time to not watch it. But then when I watched it, I would like to say it's not as bad as I feel like people made it out to be. Like, I will say there are scenes where it's like, okay, they could have did better. But to me, I feel like for the story and what the voice acting and everything, I feel like that really covered it up until like the last few episodes where, I don't know, I feel like they just was like, we got to kick it into high gear, because those last few episodes are amazing.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if you have any opinion on that, but
yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Basically, I will agree. There are a couple like egregious moments of just like the animation. No idea what they were going for. There's a couple of like really like slideshow-esque transitions in a couple episodes, but I think the moments themselves are a lot smaller than people are making them out to be. I think on the whole, there could have been a lot more energy and like just more intricate animation, I think, in the matches throughout the entirety of season 2. But I agree. They really did bring it in the last few episodes. But I just hope that means that, maybe a bigger budget and more time for the animators down the road for season 3 and hopefully inevitably wherever it goes from there. But yeah, I mean, I'm totally cool with it. So yeah,
for sure. I think it surprised a lot of people on how much anticipation and how popular it was. Because I mean, to me, it surprises me when they actually have clips of it playing during the World Cup and stuff like that. So
right,
it's a very big anime, man. What else have I been watching recently? I just kind of started getting into some of the new anime that's coming out recently. So I just got into the new season of Solo Leveling.
Nice.
Amazing. Alec Lee, he does amazing in the role, but the storyline of it is just amazing so far. I like the fact that they're going into different genres of manga, because this didn't come from a normal manga. It I think it's a web comic that they got this from, and they have just killed it so far. And I don't know, have you watched it so far?
I've watched most of season 1. I haven't gotten to season 2 yet, but yeah, I'm pretty sure it started as webcomic into manga / light novel territory, and then anime after that. But yeah, dude, it's so good. I really do need to get caught up, because I've been trying to avoid clips of season 2 online, but inevitably it ends up on my timeline, and I'm like, no, I gotta watch it up. I can't do this right now.
Yeah, because this new season, really, they introducing new people, and you're just like, well, where was this guy? And okay, now he's this. Okay, because to me, I keep saying you can't power scale this show, because they keep bringing in someone super strong, and we haven't really seen our main character fight any of these people. Like, they have no person of similar like character to be like, okay, they both fought this person. They're about the same strength. So it's I can't wait until they actually have them fight together.
That's going to be cool. It's going to be peak, man.
For sure. I know it's probably coming during the last few episodes of the season, but
they got to end on it,
Because, I mean, they already stopped one fight we wanted to... Let me go ahead and get to the interview, man. I don't want to spoil nothing.
We can talk about it all the time, man.
So my first question that I want to ask you is basically, what made you want to pursue a career in voice acting? And were you afraid of this new challenge?
Yeah. So honestly, I think back to like how many times I've, had voice acting kind of like sing in my life. And I grew up watching a lot of cartoons, a lot of movies, animated movies, playing video games, watching anime, things that were a lot, where voice acting was a lot of the focus. And I just think about a lot of moments where like I had like a resonating feeling with a voice performance. And in my mind, even as a kid, I was like, man, I'd love to be able to give that to someone else as well, and be able to put on a performance that can kind of transcend realism and obviously like create a character it's not there, but it's animated, or it's cartoony, or it's computer animated, anything like that. And it's something I've always wanted to do, but I've always been kind of interested in acting as a profession as well. I just never really got into it until around like junior high school. That's where I started doing like live performance theater. I got to join my high school theater and did a lot of shows with them, and I just kind of found that love for acting. So in my mind, I was like, cool, I already love acting and I love the concept of voice acting. Let me see how I can kind of obviously meld those together and eventually hopefully get into voice acting. So I did a bunch of research and I was definitely nervous. I was like, there is no, it's one of the crazy things where it's like, it's a profession where nobody really has a tried and true way on how to get in, how to get started. You know, everyone's story is different. So I was definitely intimidated and I was nervous about pursuing it. But I did my research and I figured out that most of the hubs of voice acting in the country were California, so Southern California specifically, like for video games, commercials, movies, anime. Dallas, Texas was one of them. And then New York and Canada kind of have like their own bouts of voice acting specialty over there. But yeah, and I if it's part of another question, I'll go into it. But I luckily found myself in a position where I was able to move to Dallas, Texas, and able to meet a bunch of people, take a bunch of classes, and kind of just snowballed into me getting opportunities. And it's been a blessing ever since. So I can't say it's been nothing but positive.
Well, that's amazing. So really learning how to network and stuff, that's something that's very important in voice acting field. That's something I hear a lot from a lot of different voice actors. I think it's pretty interesting what you were kind of saying earlier. I think I've had a similar thing when it's like you watched all these cartoons as a kid, but for some reason it just didn't click to you like, okay, this is someone behind the character that's a voice actor and something like that until like you get older. And for me, I feel like to me I didn't really start to really pay attention until you get to your movies like Kung Fu Panda and stuff like that, because that's one of my favorite animated movies today. But I also like your Narutos and stuff like that, where you actually get to see characters like from different roles and from your villainous side, basically giving out these great monologues, and you're sitting back and you're actually starting to question some of the things that's actually happening, and you're like, wait, are they bad? Like, are they really evil? Because I mean, if you put me in those same circumstances, man, I really feel like I would be going the same way. Like, you know what I mean? So it just
that's what makes a compelling villain, man. When you're like, well, you know, they're kind of right.
That's what I'm saying. And that's why I always feel like anime is an amazing field of like just the way they are able to take a lot of different stories and just portray them in different ways. Because I feel like they push the metal with that, because I don't feel the needle with that, because I feel like a lot of people don't do that, or they're not even allowed to even put a lot of these stories into media, because it's like a lot of these stories sometimes they kind of do push the bounds. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you gotta really be like, I don't know if we can even put this on TV, but I just think it's amazing. And I think it also gives a lot of people a chance to get into acting, because I mean, anime, literally, you can be a tree, you can be a pencil, you can be a wand, you can be any Pokemon in the series. Like, to me, that surprises me when you realize those are voice actors actually in those roles. And I'm like, damn, there's someone literally like Pika, like just saying that. And I'm like, in those instances, that's what I was like, I would think there was AI or something, but that's interesting to me.
Yeah, well, and you're right. Like, I think in the sense of anime, it's like it's so much more widespread for the opportunities that people get to act in it, because I think for like most other like cartoons or just like computer animated like movies and other things that aren't anime related, I think they've focused mostly just on like the characters themselves, obviously, and then anything else that kind of comes with like crowd noises or background stuff. They have a sound library that they'll just pull from, or they'll just generate stuff from pre-recorded stuff, and then they'll be able to just make it sound fine. But with anime, what's great about that is that, yeah, you can just go in there and then they're like, hey, we've got like this big crowd scene and they're talking for a solid minute and a half. So let's get 4 of you in the booth and let's just record some crowd noises. And it works out so perfectly. You get that experience not only with voice acting, but improv as well. So it's really great, man.
And I think that's also cool, because it also gets to add on to your credits, and when you get to show other people what you've done and stuff like that. So you actually get to show them some work, instead of being like, still trying to get some stuff, but you know what I mean? But just give me this opportunity. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
For my next question, I basically want to ask you is, what do you find most rewarding about being a voice actor?
I think, one of the things is that my parents have finally turned around on it, and they're like, okay, you know, they're kind of getting into shows that I'm in, or not really into, but they're at least like watching them and like recognizing that like, you got to do this. That's so cool, you know, that kind of thing. So being able to do it and kind of like showing people obviously that might not have necessarily, not that they didn't believe in you, but they're like, maybe I have a backup plan, but it's like working out now. So it's like being able to like show people, hey, I did it. I'm here. I'm doing the thing I wanted to do, is extremely rewarding. But also just in the sense of like, it goes back to what I was saying about vocal performances resonating with you to a great degree. And I've had those in my childhood, and I'm starting to see it now. Like I've gone to a few conventions, and there are people that have come up to me and they're like, dude, your voice as whether it was like Kunigami and Blue Lock or Yoshida and Higehiro or a bunch of other things that are like so good, and like it spoke to me and it made me feel like the character was alive, and that means the absolute world to me that I was able to help this character feel a bit more alive because of my performance. So yeah, I would say that.
That's super dope. That feel like someone told me that, I'll probably be cheesing too.
Yeah.
Because you never know how people think about your work until you really get to hear it. I mean, social media can kind of tell you, but that's kind of mixed, and you never really know if you're getting the true aspects of what people truly feel until they really come up to you and stuff like that. Especially at a con, because I mean, you can be there and nobody walk up to you. And
True,
I don't know how those experiences feel, but from the outward looking in, I just feel like that's like, man, is it the pricing? Like, and I not put the cash like that's crazy. Like, but I think that's pretty cool that you're getting that respect and people coming up to you. I will say
I was just gonna say, in the most humblest of ways, I could say like those times that people have recognized me have been probably counted on one hand. Most of the time at conventions, it can be pretty slow, pretty quiet, but it's still fun to be there, But sometimes you're just like, well, it's kind of a slow day. That's just kind of the way it is.
Yeah, I feel it. I feel it. What's the most recent con you've done?
Oh gosh, I think the most recent one I did was it was a store signing kind of event at a place called Geeks and Gamers. I forget where exactly it was, but it was sometime the latter half of last year. And since then, because of Blue Lock Season 2 and a bunch of other stuff that's come out, I'm hoping to, I'm speaking to my event rep every now and then, and they're hoping that they've got a handful of cons up in line for this year that I can hopefully we can agree upon something so I can show up there. But before that, I think I went to AggieCon, which is happening right now. And gosh, I'm trying to remember some other ones that I went to. But yeah, just a handful of cons here and there. Haven't been hitting the con scene too much right now, but hoping that kind of expands as we go on into this year and next year.
For sure. I know if I was a voice actor, I couldn't wait to do it. But it's also one of those things where you got to kind of get enough work underneath your belt and then try to get that at least that prominent role where people are going to be like, oh, I know him and he's in that anime. And the fact that, to me, I feel like you've been in a lot of good recent anime, from Kaiju No. 8, from Blue Lock to even Solo Leveling and the new My Hero Academia, your next movie. So I feel like this last few years, you've been killing it, man.
Thanks, man. Thank you, man. I'm trying to, and it's never like I'm always like at a point where I'm like, I did it. I got to do what I always wanted to do. Like if for whatever reason, life were to take me out tomorrow for some reason, I'd be happy with what I've done. But I am always trying to chase that next thing I want to do.
And one thing I will say is, like, for me personally, I always want to do something where my name is kind of left in history or something. And I feel like as a voice actor, with all these works you get to do, past your death, people still are going to see you in these works, especially if Blue Lock, to me, goes as good as I think it's going to go and keep going that route. That's something people are going to always go back and see your work and stuff like that. So I always find that to be amazing, and something, one of the reasons that's kind of making me kind of want to try to get into the field, just to be like, I left something. You know what I mean? Like, that's, to me, amazing.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, yeah.
Well, my next question, one of the main reasons I kind of brought you on was basically talk about your experience working on the Blue Lock anime and also the movie, the episode Nagi. How was it stepping into a role and basically being a good supporting character? And do you feel any personal connection to the character you played?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll tell you, before I got the role of Kunigami on in Blue Lock, the director, Jonathan Rigg, I'd worked with him on a previous previous show before that, the show was called Higehiro, and I played the character Yoshida in that. And right at the end when we finished that show, I remembered Jonathan told he was on the other side. I was in the booth, and he's like, "Hey, I want to show you something real quick." And I'm like, "Yeah, sure. What's up?" And we finished recording, and he brought up a video of the first ending of Blue Lock on the screen, and he played it, and I was like looking at the characters and the animation and listening to the music, and I was like, "Oh, dude, this is so cool! Like, I hope you guys get a chance to dub it or something. That would be super cool." And I don't know if it was ever confirmed at the time that like they were going to dub it, but like I remember sometime later, I got an email. It said director is interested in casting you as this character for Blue Lock, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool!" So when I came in for it, he was like, "Hey, before we get started, I'm going to pull up this character and we're going to talk about him a little bit." And he pulled up a kind of little like character bio of Raysean Kunigami, and he just pointed at him and he's like, "What do you think about this guy? Like, what does his design say to you?" And I looked at him, and he's like super stern face and the spiky orange hair, and I'm like, "Well, it kind of looks like Bakugo from My Hero." And he's like, "Yes, exactly. That's kind of like the initial takeaway from his design, that we do want people to think you're like, but that's not how he is. He's kind of like a big brother, and he's kind of like, you know, the one that kind of really cares about the team, and he wants them all to play fairly, and he just wants everyone to kind of get along. If he needs to put his foot down to make that happen, he will, but he's very much the older brother of the team." And I was like, I feel that very much close to my heart, not because I'm an older brother. I'm actually a younger brother. I have an older brother, but a lot of like, you know, things I emulated were based off of my older brother, who has always been supportive and he's always been loving. And I always look to him for guidance and inspiration. So tapping into that for Kunigami was super easy and just kind of fit right in the pocket.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Is kind of talk. I don't know if everybody's watched Blue Lock or anything, but for your character, I know he didn't have a great ending to season 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you could see him kind of make a full comeback, how would you want that to be?
Well, if I could see him make a full comeback that doesn't already exist, I would have liked to see him go further in the initial league matches they had. Obviously not get eliminated when he did. I think he could have gone a lot farther. And I think if he was picked up by another team, even if he lost, I think it would have been I think he could have shown more of what he could what he was capable of. And I think it would have been cool. But if you don't know what happens at the end of season 1, I won't tell you. But yeah, there's some things that go on with Kunigami that we'll probably have to wait for the future to see.
For sure. You know, a lot of those storylines where you think they end, but you know, they come back later on and be like a whole new person. Which for me, I feel like it would be interesting if he comes back with a whole different type of character mindset, which I think he sort of needed. Because I mean, you can't be the fun-loving brother type doing a whole thing where people are becoming egoless and they only care about themselves. You know what I mean? You have to get to that point where you're willing to be like, you know what, I'm only here for me type of thing.
Right.
But my next question I want to ask you: do you think there's any misconceptions about voice acting?
I think because I'm on the side of things with like English dubbing in anime, I would like to, or not like to believe, I see it every day, but online there's a lot of discourse about, you know, what's better, English dubbing, Japanese dubbing, you know, or Japanese voices, you know, all that kind of stuff. There's always this constant fight. And I think it just kind of fits, they kind of fit their own niche, and whatever you're looking for, it fits right in where you need it. And I think there's a misconception that like English voice actors aren't trained a certain way, or they don't go through the kind of trials and tribulations and then all the things that need to make a voice performance fantastic. And what people fail to realize is that voice acting is pulling on personal experiences. We pull on what has happened to us directly to sell what is going on in a scene. And a lot of that can sound very differently than you might be kind of prone to hearing. So you hear a line, the way it's delivered, you're like, I wouldn't have delivered that way. But that's because they're delivering it from their experiences. And I think that's what people get kind of mixed up a lot of the time. But I don't think there's any like bar for, you know, expertise. I think if you have taken, you know, certain classes and lessons and you want to get into acting, obviously there's a little bit of bedrock experience you need. But from there, you can kind of just do a deep dive into your own interpersonal experiences and kind of pull on that to bring out the realism in your performance. And again, like I think that's just kind of what people get mixed up every now and then.
For sure. And one thing I want to kind of add on to that, because I feel like if you're going from the mindset that, this is coming from the Japanese voice acting, you're taking that and you're putting English dub on top of that. So it's like, it's harder in that aspect because you're very limited to what you can do because you have to fit whatever you have to within the same mouth flaps and stuff like that. So you're not always able to give out the line you want to give because you're limited to based on what that character's doing. Because versus how it is, because the Japanese characters are written for Japanese voice actors. They write those mouth flaps for them type of thing. So that's just one thing I want to add on there just to say, it is harder for them to kind of just go in there and give every line. Or if you have a personal line you feel like should fit there, like they don't have the space to do that.
Yeah, exactly. No, you're very right. Very right.
For my next question I want to ask you, I kind of talked about it earlier when I was naming some of the projects that you've been working on and stuff like that. You had the opportunity to work on Kaiju No. 8, which to me has been one of the best new anime that's come out so far. And it's mainly have to do with the fact that they have an older main character. And it gives the feel that, us in our upper 20s and our higher 30s, we have dreams. It seems like people tend to forget that and feel like after you turn 25, you just help other people with their dreams. No. No. So I thought it was pretty cool to see that, and I thought it was an amazing summer hit. My main question I want to ask you is how did you get a part of that project? Like, how did you get selected? And what was your overall thoughts of the story and the character you played?
So that was an opportunity that was under a director I'd also worked with previously, Sean Gann, and I'd worked with him I'm currently working with him for Apothecary Diaries Season 2, worked with him for Season 1, and then arguably the character I play in Kaiju he's in there very shortly. He does have a name, but he appears very shortly during I think a siege attack like halfway through the series, and he's kind of parachuting in, and at the time I think Sean kind of just needed a gruff and militant voice to kind of bring out what was being said in that moment. So when I recorded it, I had known of the series, and obviously I knew how big it was, but I hadn't really watched it and sat down and watched it through. I have watched bits and pieces of it since then, and I do love it. I resonate heavily with what you said earlier with the older protagonist, because I just turned 30 last year, and granted, I've been doing a lot in my late 20s, going into my 30s now, I'm still doing a lot. But it's comforting to see series be no, you can still be, achieving these things at this age. You don't need to be in high school. You don't need to be on the cusp of adulthood, going into your early 20s where the world is your oyster and things like that. You still have the time, the expertise and the ability to go out there and be who you want to be. And I thought that was really great.
For sure. I'm glad that you took from that the same as I did too, because I'm just sitting here come on, man. I know we at that older class and we might not move like we used to in our early 20s, but we still got to the point where we got the experiences. You know what I mean? We done did all those little missions in the head and in the beginning. Now we know we don't have to do all that. You know what I mean?
Our joints may be cracking, but we'll get there.
Well, my next question I want to ask you basically, how has your taste in anime evolved over the years? And what was the first anime that got you into this?
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, I watched anime, way back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when really the only series you could kind of catch were on Toonami. And even though Toonami is around now, there was a large portion of time where Toonami was not around. So Tenchi Muyo, Yu Yu Hakusho, obviously the more kid-friendly animes like Pokemon, Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh, things like that I watched all the time. And I just loved the super intricate art styles of all those shows. So that's that, I think the initial setting of I really liked, and I still do really like shonen titles, stuff with a lot of action, obviously geared towards younger males, just because I think every young guy has that kind of superhero fantasy in their minds that is delved into a lot with anime. But it's weird because I think earlier on watching anime, when you're in your teens and stuff like that, you watch a lot of you might try to watch a romantic comedy one, and I think my taste in those ones has definitely changed, because if there's a romantic comedy anime that's about high school. I'm like, I don't want to watch that. There's a lot of like workplace romantic comedy animes now that I absolutely love. One of them is called Wotakoi, and it's just this really, really realistic, like down to earth office place romantic comedy that's just like so good, and I really love that one. So can we have more workplace romantic comedy animes, please? That would be awesome. But outside of that, yeah, still definitely a shonen head, and just I try to ingest every little bit and piece of it.
For sure. I've always been a shonen head, if that's what we're calling it, because I've always been a Dragon Ball Z fan.
Yeah, man.
From the day I've been born till the first day I seen it, because I still remember to this moment when my first actually witnessed Dragon Ball, and I'm just sitting there like, what the hell is this? So to me, like, this is like so advanced in the way that the cartoon looked versus how regular cartoons looked at that point. So when I first got to it, I remember I watched like almost all the episodes until like the beginning of the Saiyan saga or the Frieza saga. It's one of those. And I remember we got the bill on that, and I wasn't a happy camper. Oh no, I was not a happy camper.
Yeah, no, I feel you on that.
I will say a lot of cartoons that I used to watch did not watch, but I didn't know they were anime, like your Pokemons and stuff like that. Because when you start to realize, okay, this makes sense. This had to come from a whole different country. Because some of the stuff you see in these cartoons, you'd be like, man, how do you even come up with this? Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Versus when you compare it to like a SpongeBob, you know what I mean? I feel like the only cartoon I've ever seen that I was like, okay, we have a lot of similarities on our mindset, and that was probably Avatar, because Avatar to me is one of those, it's kind of hard to be like, is that an anime? Is that a cartoon?
Right, yeah. It's like Western with anime influences, that kind of thing.
And it's amazing. That's probably one of the best cartoons I've ever seen on Nickelodeon.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. It's like the best of both worlds, just mixing it both together and just created such a fantastic series.
If you weren't doing voice acting right now, or acting period, what would you be doing?
Gosh, that's something I've definitely thought about a lot. Back when I was in high school, I actually, and I still do, really like to cook. So I had considered actually going to culinary school when college came and stuff like that. I never did it because I started to think on it more, and I still love to cook, and I cook every day, and I mainly cook most of all my meals. But like to me, that's like a me thing, and that's like a me passion. I feel like if I pursued it professionally, I would kind of start to lose my passion in it, because everyone I've talked to who has gone into the restaurant business or cooking professionally, they talk about what a high intense environment it is, and like the return of feeling accomplished in that profession can be so disparaging sometimes, and sometimes you don't feel that way. And I was like, I know that that's more so on the person than it is the profession itself, but this is still something that I want to love and be passionate about in my own sense. But but if I wasn't doing voice acting, I'd probably try to give it another go. Aside from cooking, I really love interior design. So I don't have any like experience per se in it, but the way I'll obsessively kind of think about the structure of a room and be like, oh, I want to put this there, that there, in any way, shape, or form, really tickles my brain in a right way.
For sure. I've always thought I could be a good designer, but I always feel like a lot of the stuff that I'd be thinking can go in the room just be too much. You know what I mean? I'd be like, I don't even know if you can make that, but that would be amazing if you can put like a Dragon Ball mural over there. That
would be cool.
I light the room up. Like, you know what I mean? But I think that's pretty cool. For me personally, fields that I would like to get into, that if I necessarily had different opportunities and stuff, like personally, I was just in the dental field. It took me a little bit of while to realize that wasn't the right field for me. And that's something that took me a while to get to that point, to realize, you can work hard in a field and get to a point and be like, I made a mistake. Let me go back and try to do something else instead of trying to keep doing something, because, man, it was getting to the point where I hated doing what I was doing. And I feel like that's not the right mindset to what you want to do. And I kind of know I want to do something where I get to talk to people and stuff like that. I'm still trying to get better at speaking. Like, I want to get to the point where I can speak more fluently and be able to speak without messing up or tripping up on my words and stuff like that, which I feel like I'm getting better and better and better each
Dude, you're doing a fantastic job so far. I didn't even notice. What are you talking about? You're kicking ass out here, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. My mindset is I would love to get into stand up. In my mindset, I think I'm probably a really funny person, but that's, to each his own. Everyone has their own opinion on that. But that's something I'm just working up to, just getting to the point where I can more publicly speak. Because I feel like I'm getting to the point where I feel better, comfortable, and speaking my opinion face to face with somebody over webcam. That's easier. But speaking in front of a crowd, I always tell people that's a whole nother thing. And I
Yeah.
feel like I'm still working on that personally because I want to get to the point where you working, but you love what you do, so it's not
course,
working.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And do you feel like that's something you found in acting?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I won't like sugarcoat it. I even though I am trying to do as much acting as I can and voice acting wise, I still do have a day job that kind of pays the bills, when things are slow. So that's kind of what takes up most of my time. But any chance I get to, step into the booth or do something voice related, I'm like, I am doing what I love. Not only that, but I'm getting paid to do it, which is super cool. But I know that like my appreciation of that and my like recognizing of that will only become that much grander once I'm able to step away from my day job, hopefully permanently in the near future. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I would definitely say that that's a position I'm in right now, and I'm ever appreciative of it.
That's amazing. I'm glad you found that thing for yourself.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
But my next question I want to ask you basically, could you share your experience working on the My Hero Academia, your next movie? And how
Yeah.
was it being part of such a big movie? Because I got to watch that recently. That was one of the few movies I actually got to see in theaters. And I will say that was one of the few movies I've seen recently that had a nice crowd audience where you actually get to go there and enjoy the crowd kind of watching the movie with you. Because I've seen a lot of movies where it's just me or maybe 2 or 3 other people in the theater, which those experiences aren't bad either. Because I tell people having a theater to yourself to me is probably one of the best moments ever, especially if you're introvert. Because it's like, it's nobody else I got to worry about. I can pull my phone out. I'm not worried about if somebody in the back like turn your phone. No, I'm taking a clip.
No, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, I definitely like for certain events, it's nice to be in a movie theater with a lot of people, as opposed to like most of the time I'd rather just be there on my own. But yeah, dude, working on that movie was again, it was unfortunately just I mean, it was amazing and I loved it. Just unfortunately, it was just a moment where like I just kind of got to pop in really quick. If you guys don't know, I voice Ganma Asui, Suyu Asui's father, in a brief kind of vision scene that she has of her family. And it's very brief. I got to do that. I also got to voice some of the creatures that Bakugo and some of the 1A classmates take on, I think like a 3/4 of the way through the movie or so. I can't remember exactly when it happens. But it was, it's amazing because like I've loved that show ever since it first came out. Well, actually, a friend of mine actually introduced it to me for the very first time because I remember I was working at a pizza place at the time, and a friend came up to me and he's like, dude, have you heard of My Hero Academia? And I was like, no, I never heard of it. And I think like at that point, maybe like the first half of season 1 was out. So he came over and we watched it, and I was like, dude, this series is amazing. And this was even before I'd even gotten into voice acting, like actually like professionally or anything like that. I had done some like indie and fan stuff here and there, but nothing professional. So the fact that I got to go from, loving the show and admiring the show to actually getting to be a part of it, and not only that, a part of like the latest movie, that was just so cool. And, speaking with the director, Mike McFarlane was so awesome. And, he kind of gave me, he's like, have you watched the show? I'm like, of course I've watched this show. I love it, that kind of thing. So he's like, okay, cool. So you know what's going on. And I'm like, yeah, I know what's going on. So, but that was just so cool. I was so appreciative to be in that.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know Mike McFarlane was the director of that.
Mhm.
Oh, because recently he just come out. I think he has a cancer, or I don't know how he's how far progress he has made since the last time I've heard about that, and
Mhm.
hopefully he's getting through that and everything. But I just wanted to say that I didn't know he was part of that, so that's pretty cool because he's had
Yeah.
a whole lot of amazing work. Because he's also Master Roshi and Dragon
Yeah.
Ball Z, so man, it's amazing.
Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, were you about to say something?
No, I'm gonna say, much to what you said about Mike. Yeah, he's been going through a lot of health stuff lately, but I would like to say a lot of the community came out in spades to support him. So I know he's really appreciative of that. I know he's on his road to recovery, and I think he's doing okay. But like, yeah, I know he's super appreciative of everyone that kind of came forward and just shared nice words or were able to help him out, things like that. So thank you everybody for that.
Yes, I think that's pretty cool, especially when you get to see how much the community loves and respects all the stuff that you've done. and stuff like that. And because a lot of times you don't know, you know what I mean? You do all
Mhm.
this works and stuff, and a lot of times it probably come down to how am I going to eat? You know what I mean? This is just
Right.
something I know how to do. But the fact that people came and were willing to donate and stuff like that, I thought that was pretty cool.
Mhm.
Another thing I wanted to add is I also got to interview I might be saying this name wrong, and I hate when this happens, but Mauricio, he man, if I get right, because I just pulled that up off of my head.
No, that
Um,
was right. Mauricio, yeah, I love him. He's a great guy. Love working with him.
I thought he did amazing in that role, and I think
Mhm.
just for somebody I voiced, I got the interview before that role came out and kind of afterwards, and kind of seeing the difference between his career a little bit, because it's like, yeah, he just started getting a little bit bigger after the role, and the fact that you get to see him go to like the red carpet events and stuff like that. So I didn't know if you got to participate in any of that, or if you know Mauricio or anything
Mhm.
like that.
Oh, I definitely know Mauricio personally. We've hung out a number of times, and we're all part of like kind of like the same like info group about of voice actors and stuff. Since we like to share information and everything now and then. But unfortunately, I didn't get to go to the big red carpet event. I think they kind of like had that section for the main focused characters. I know we tried to kind of get them to do the same thing for Blue Lock. We're like, hey, the movie's coming out. But I think that might hopefully come around maybe next time, maybe when Blue Lock has a movie. Here's hoping. I don't know.
For
But
sure.
like, yeah, talking to him about his experience, he said it was like a dream come true. Getting to be there amongst his voice acting heroes and being there in the same capacity was insane. So I'm super proud of him and I'm super happy for him.
Man, that to me, that's when you really know you got it, like you're making it low key. You're like, okay,
Mhm.
and then the fact that you talked about basically working on something that you actually liked and getting the opportunity to come back to that, which is if I can get into voice acting, I would love to do something Dragon Ball or in the,
Mhm.
but to me, it also gets to the point where it's kind of like, I don't know if it has the same feel ever since the Toriyama died. And it's like, I don't
Yeah.
know if this is still the same Dragon Ball that he envisioned. And I don't know why I always get like that, because I only really get like that with Dragon Ball, where I'm like, this has to be what Toriyama wanted. But
Right,
it's
right.
just like, man, I'm glad that
I
you had the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, definitely. In Toriyama's case, I can only hope that, obviously such great work. I hope he was able to leave behind like a sort of series Bible for Dragon Ball Z, and he was able to like at least for the people that are taking over the creative forces on the series now are able to look at it and says, hey, this was Toriyama's vision. Let's do our best to kind of make it a reality, and that kind of thing. So. I hope that's the case, and I think it'll keep on being what it is. So.
For sure, because to me, I always had the mindset if I was a creator of something and I was getting to that point where it's like, I might have to go or something, I probably would
Mhm.
end it, because I
Yeah,
just
that's
wouldn't
fair.
want people working on it afterward, because I'd be like, I don't know. And I would just rather y'all just be like, this is y'all version of it and not even use my name anymore. And
Yeah, that's
that type
fair.
of thing.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
For my next question, I want to ask you is basically, what emotion do you find hard to portray?
So I think when it comes to anime, it's really hard to portray. It's hard to portray anger without explosive anger, I should say. It's hard to modulate that because so much of anime is kind of over exaggeration. I mean, we know this. We watch series and every emotion is over exaggerated. However, when it comes to anger and especially sadness too, those are the hardest to over exaggerate and still help feel real because those are like the most like raw emotions like you can get down to is anger and sadness. So unless the performance that we get to like kind of like match kind of calls for that like super explosive like anger or super downtrodden sadness, it can be hard to find where it should be and where it should fit, and have it still sound genuine while still matching the intensity of the original performance. So that's something that I tend to struggle with a lot. There's a lot of emotional moments in the series Higehiro that I did where like I do like what I did for that, but I look back on it and I'm like, ooh, there's something I could have done differently. I could have read this a bit differently. I could have tried to do it a bit differently, and it might have come out a little bit more realistic and resonating a bit more. But yeah, I would say that's where I struggle with the most.
I can feel that, because a lot of the things you see, it'd be like the voice, but then the facial expressions, because you got to kind of match all that into that scene so that it can all make sense. And sometimes, a lot of that can't always line up right. And you're like, how would this person express this? So I feel like those are the moments where you really got to go back and try to listen to, I guess, how did the Japanese voice actor do it? Okay. Okay. When we try to match that pitch, that tone, because you're not necessarily can't match the same words or anything, but when we try to get that same tone type of thing.
Right.
Well, my next question I want to ask you, this is kind of one of my favorite questions. It's probably if you go back and watch any of these interviews, I think I've asked everyone the same question. It's basically, is there anyone you want to shout out for being a good support system for you? And can you explain how having a good support system has helped you get to this point?
Yeah, absolutely. So the ones that I
if
can
you have
think
a
of,
wife, you have to
Oh,
you
yeah.
have to say something because
definitely not my wife yet, but my girlfriend has been extremely supportive of me throughout this entire my entire journey through voice acting. Because I mean, like, it's hectic to be involved with a voice actor romantically. Money is kind of always like a question. Luckily, my day job has been able to make up where voice acting might fall flat with money and everything like that, or financial issues. But I thank her endlessly for everything she's been able to do for me. Outside of that, I'm luckily part of a group of voice actors where we all got started kind of right at the same time, because we were lucky enough to be friends and have demos and have like everything we needed at the same time, where we got to kind of sell or pitch ourselves as a group to Crunchyroll when they were doing remote recordings and stuff like that back in 2020. So we got to kind of like go in as a group and record together, or get together and record remotely as a group. And we all still to this day, we talk to each other, we hype each other up, we celebrate each other's wins. I won't list all the names, but Jacob Eisman, if you've heard of him, he's in Heaven's Official Blessing and a bunch of other stuff right now. Ryan Seal, Nick Markgraf, Dylan Mobley, Ashley Therion. I know I'm just listing names here, but they've all done work for Crunchyroll, and I'm endlessly appreciative to all of them, because not only did they help me get into things as they are, but they've been supportive. And I moved from California to Texas not knowing anybody. I didn't have any connections, and they were kind of the first group of friends that I'd met and stayed with, and they've still to this day are dear friends to me, and I'm so proud of what they've accomplished and happy for them. So, and I appreciate their support of me. So yeah,
that's amazing. That's one thing I've noticed about doing these interviews with voice actors, is that it seems like you guys get into these small groups and y'all kind of work together and then cheer each other on and stuff like that, which is pretty nice, because a lot of these fields can be kind of cutthroat. So the fact to think that you can actually find a group of people that can actually be happy that you got to roll over them, to me, is amazing, because there's a lot of snakes out there that they can't see you win. That hurts them. So
I mean, don't get me wrong. Jealousy is always a part of the industry. Like, you're gonna get jealous of your best friends, and that's what's gonna happen. It's what you do with that feeling of jealousy and where it comes from that kind of determines your relationship with that person. And you have to ask yourself, is this coming from because I'm jealous of what they've accomplished because I feel that what I've done is inadequate, or is it because I feel like I haven't been in the same opportunities that they have? And it should never, it always usually comes around, at least for me personally, it never comes around to any personal issue I have with the person. It always has to do with just something else out in the ether, out in the universe, So I'll never try to sacrifice a relationship for the sake of my own jealousy or feelings thereof. So I always try to check myself, at least. I'm like, if I start to be a little jealous of somebody, I'm like, wait a minute, what really happened here? And don't feel that way, or at least if you're going to feel that way, kind of like, just get it out in a more healthier way.
For sure. And then one thing I've also learned is sometimes you can be jealous of people and not realize the amount of the difference in work ethic you can have with that person. Because I've seen, I've gotten to kind of step into one of my friend's shoes, because I was just trying to figure out how it would just always seem like they were up. And then when I actually got to step in and see what they were doing, I'm like, man, I can't do this every day. I can't imagine having to get up every day, pack up a van, go out and deliver all these packages and do this almost 10-12 hours a day. Like, yeah, I can see why you're where you're at. And the fact that you got to do this every day, really can't call off, or you can lose your job. Could never.
Right.
Anyway, but sometimes that's one thing I think we always got to take the mindset of like, maybe what they're doing is a whole nother level of work that I'm doing. You know what I mean?
You never know what anybody else is going through, so try to keep an open mind. But yeah.
Well, my next question I want to ask you, based on all the work you've put out so far, what do you consider your best?
Ooh. Gosh, that's a good question. I've brought it up a few times already in this interview, but I still think Higehiro was not only my favorite, but some of my best work, purely because if you haven't watched the series, it's just an extremely down to earth, kind of raw and real series about trauma and abuse and healing from that, and how people you meet can help you heal from that. So there was a lot of moments that were, in my opinion, handled extremely well by the director, who kind of got us into the mindset of what these characters were going through, where they came from, and why they were having certain emotional responses to what was happening. So it's not often that I see that happen a lot in anime, because I feel like anime is on the whole, it tries to be super positive, and even when it gets a little in those negative feelings, it kind of tries to like spin it so it's like, well, you can do it if you believe, and you can bring yourself back up, and that's a great feeling to have, and you should still like feel that, and you should still experience that. But it's really special when an anime can kind of like take you down a real path and show you that like, hey, this didn't turn out well. Things are not good with this person, and they're going through it, and they're going to need time. They're going to need patience. They're going to need all these things to help them heal from that trauma and those experiences. So to this day, I really, really love that series, and I hope everyone gets a chance to check it out if you can.
For sure. It's kind of good when you actually get to see a character actually live through their emotions and progress through them, and actually get to see, which I always say a good version of that would be Vegeta. If you've seen Dragon Ball Z, getting to see how he goes from an arrogant mindset to basically to a mindset where he's just appreciative of his family and his Saiyan race and stuff like that, and the progression of that taken. And I think that was a pretty cool thing.
Oh yeah, we love our character arcs.
man. Okay, what would you consider your top 3 favorite vocal performances?
Okay, definitely Kunigami, just because he's super fun, and it's super fun kind of being that intense older brother figure. Oh, that aren't me. Oh, okay, never mind. Oh man, top 3 performances. I'm sure this has been brought up a lot, but you mentioned like Robin Williams earlier, and Genie in Aladdin has always been like in my heart. I watched Aladdin so many times with my mom when I was a kid, and every time Genie came up, it was just an endless like calling out like the one-liners and just like trying to imitate, and just super great. I love him. He's up there. Outside of that, gosh, I'm trying to rack my brain now. I gotta say, like during like the mid 2000s and late 2000s, Jason Griffith's Sonic is so much close to my heart. I love Roger Craig Smith and I love his Sonic, but the Sonic I grew up with Ryan Drummond as the first Sonic, of course, and like Sonic Adventure and things like that. But when Jason Griffith took over, that's when I like really fell in love with the voice performance of Sonic. So that, and then.
Are you a fan of Mike Pollock?
I love his Eggman. I've seen some iffy things about him on social media, to say the least. Just some things I feel like he could have handled better. But purely on a performance standpoint, him as Eggman is peak, and I love his Eggman. But yeah, so I just know that he's handled some things in a bit of a rough way. But gosh, outside of that, man, usually I have like 10 things that I can list right up off the top of my head.
When you're on the spot, sometimes it always throw you off, don't it? You're like, hey, this was great. If I was just talking to you without the cameraman, I have 30 of these.
No, you're fine. Really, I would say anything Clancy Brown does, because I love Clancy Brown as a voice actor. And just speaking as somebody who also can tap into that kind of like gravelly low texture, I just really like that he's able to play so many varied characters and sounds right every time. And I'm like, well, you didn't need to change much. You just had it. So yeah.
I feel you. Like I like voice actors where you can still kind of hear their normal voice, because to me I feel like that's when you really get to hear the acting, because to me that's what differentiates each character that they do. Because when I heard that the voice actor for Sasuke, because I can never think of his name when I'm on the spot, he sounds just like Sasuke, and always to me throws me off.
Is that that's Yuri? Is it Yuri Lowenthal?
I think so. Let me look
for Sasuke, right?
Let
Yeah.
me look it up really
Unless they
quick.
change, I can't remember. I'm completely honest. I was never a super big Naruto fan, but I obviously was constantly aware of it because being a fan of anime in the teenage years and back then, you had to be aware of it. But yeah,
Yep. Yuri
Yep.
Lowenthal.
I love anything Yuri does. He's really great.
For some reason, I was thinking Johnny Young Bosch, so I'm glad I didn't
Mm.
say that because, oh man.
No, you're good.
But my next question I want to ask you, because we're winding down to our last two questions.
Mhm.
My next question I want to ask you: do you got any advice for anybody out there that wants to get into voice acting? Like, which route do you consider the best? Because what you said earlier is true. You do hear a lot of different paths from a lot of different people, because everyone's way to getting in is different. But what have you seen is like the most similar path that people can do?
Well, definitely first up, if you don't have any acting experience, I highly recommend you guys search out any kind of like opportunity that might be near you, whether that's community theater, whether it's an improv group or just some acting classes that you can take. Usually you can find some either inexpensive or free opportunities for that. A lot of community theaters will, have you volunteer or have you audition completely for free. They don't charge you money to be there or anything like that. So try your best to get like a bedrock of acting experience, because a lot of people kind of get it mixed up and kind of get it misconstrued, and they think like, oh, voice acting, all I have to do is put on a really funny voice or a really wacky voice. And it's like, no, it's so much acting first than it is the voice. The acting mentality and experience comes first, and then you add the little affectations and voice fixtures to it. But yeah, definitely try to focus on getting a little experience first. If you can take like voice acting focused classes, I know there's a lot in the places I mentioned before, whether you're in SoCal, Dallas, New York, Canada, but even beyond that, you should be able to find some maybe like local voice focused classes that you can get into. And then from there, it's kind of just putting your name out there. A lot of the stuff that I did early on that was like fan and indie, I found like online, I found via like Twitter casting calls, message boards that were looking for voice actors. I kind of tried to just find anything I could sink my teeth into. And those opportunities are just as special as the big AAA professional opportunities that you get. And they're just as rewarding and just as much of an opportunity to learn and advance yourself as an actor. But yeah, outside of that, just try to. We talked about networking earlier, and I kind of hate that networking, quote unquote, is kind of a necessary evil in the industry, because when I go out and meet people, I want to meet people and just make friends because I want to be your friend. Like, I don't want to have this undertone of like, what can you do for me for my business, for me as a professional? So I would suggest you go into situations like that. The way it's worked out for me is just go into it being genuine and being so much more about like, hey, I want to connect with you and I want to be a friend to you, not because of what you can do for me, but because we might be both interested in the same things and we can offer each other helpful advice on where we should take ourselves next, that kind of thing. So I think that's where you should approach marketing and everything like that, and connections and everything. But yeah, and hopefully you're able to find yourself in a hub where voice acting is really prevalent. I know it's only really in a handful of places right now, but you'd be surprised. There are a bunch of remote studios popping up all over the country that you can kind of go to now, and they're getting into talks with AAA studios, anime studios, video games, movies, all that kind of stuff. So I think it's a profession that is slowly but surely growing outside of it.
For sure. And then a lot of people realizing that, voice acting is pretty much everything from like audio books, from commercials and stuff like that. So it's really a field that can really be tapped into. I will say, I think ever since the pandemic, it's gotten bigger to the fact that you got a lot more people in the industry and making it a lot more competitive. I don't know per se if that's helped the voice acting as a whole, has made it stronger in that aspect, but I feel like it's opened it up. Before I said we were on our last two questions, but I came up with another question because this is something that's been recently becoming really big lately. How do you feel about AI?
Oof.
And what threats do you think it has to voice acting, or do you think it can help voice acting?
So when it comes to AI, I think our initial reaction is to be like, bad AI, get it out of here. And I agree with that. I'm very much like, if you're using AI to replace a human, to replace a performance or something that is done with passion and love from a human, then that's not the right way to use AI. And you need to get it out of there. I always think that AI should be used more so as a tool than it should be as a replacement. Like people say like, oh, they use AI in developing games, and our initial reaction to that is like always like, oh, that's horrible. They shouldn't do that. And I'm like, there's so many things you could have AI take care of, like the minutia and the annoying parts of like game development without getting rid of the human element in those games, but that can still, result in a really, really good product and more efficiently too, and help humans maintain a little bit more sanity because they didn't have to take care of all the ugly bits that AI can smooth out. As far as voice acting though, it's kind of hard to say like where AI would fit there, because the only implementation we really have for AI when it comes to voice acting is with audio replacement. It's replacing or mimicking and copying a voice. And there, it just doesn't, I don't think it'll ever be accepted, and it should definitely not be used or utilized, even if somebody we talked about it a little bit earlier. If somebody with an iconic voice and iconic performance unfortunately passes on, I personally would never want to hear AI recreations of their voice in anything. And I don't think they would either. So I think their legacy should be respected within the confines of when they were alive and what they did for their performances. But yeah.
For sure. And I think we also need to keep the fact that, a lot of these roles need a new person doing them. You know what I mean? New generations, a little bit of a different voice doing these roles. And it's kind of crazy to think that someone can basically be like, this is just going to be, I'm going to voice this character forever. Because then you start to get to those mindsets. It's like, well, does that person still get paid after death? Like, are they still paying the house estate? Or because that's interesting that you say that, because I think the person that voices Darth Vader did that, where he basically gave his rights to AI.
Right.
Which, I mean, it's hard to understand, because I understand those aspects of people saying it takes away the emotion out of the whole thing, because when you hear the difference between certain scenes where the AI they use the AI to do the dubbing versus regular actors, and it is the emotion, because it's more computer animated, like computers talking versus two humans talking. So personally, I feel like they shouldn't get to that aspect where you're seeing whole animes being created by AI. But I can see anime where, they get to the point where they're like some of the background noises are AI generated, but all the regular like named characters are people and stuff like that.
Right.
Like I can understand cost cutting measures in that way, which I still don't think they should do, because I really don't feel like you guys even really get a cut of the pie of what these animes really generate. But that's just my opinion. We probably don't need to go too much into that. I don't want you getting no angry emails, but
No, I hear you, man. You're right. You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all.
Well, my next question I want to ask you, and this is my last question, is what ambitions or goals do you have yet to fulfill in the field of voice acting?
So, honestly, it's just, I would say a lot of my current work and things I've done is anime focused. For this year in specific, my aspirations and my goals are to not only break outside of anime and do more things. I have done like a handful of video games and a couple movies I've done before, but I really, really want to kind of break out of that and do more of that stuff, especially like commercials and stuff. Part of that would be finding an agent. I do not have an agent currently. So that is like my next goal that I want to take care of in like the next month or two. I do want to sign with a talent agency, and hopefully that will help me break out and start doing a bit more than just anime out there. Won't stop doing anime. I love anime, but would love to start doing more things.
For sure. I just recently got done talking to a voice actor, and he told me he got to do a voice in the newest Transformers movie, and I thought that was pretty interesting. I was like, wow. So a lot of times, I guess when I think about you guys in anime, I always think, okay, you're stuck in anime, but no, you guys can branch out and do all types of stuff. So I think it's cool with some of the voice actors that do podcasts and also do live action films and stuff like that. I don't know if that's something you want to get into or do. But I think I think it's all interesting,
Definitely, yeah. All facets of it are something I'm willing to do and wanting to do, just as a creative. So here's hoping for 2025.
Sure. Before we close out, I just want to ask if you had a question for me or for another voice actor that may come on.
That's a good one. What is you've talked about being in or doing voice acting and stuff. What is a series or a character that you would love to voice somewhere down the road? Or if they maybe have multiple voice actors over the course of history, would you like to be that character at some point? But who would that be, or what series would you like to be a part of?
Okay, if I could say what series I want to be a part of, I would love to do either Dragon Ball, Demon Slayer, let me think. A lot of isekai animes. I like isekai animes. They usually like 12 episodes. I feel like I could probably be a bad guy in one of those. To me it's kind of hard because I want to say Frieza, but I just don't feel like I could never live up to all the voice acting I've heard for Frieza. Because I mean, you have your Linda, and then you have Chris, and then you have Dylan, and they've all, to me, taken that character to a new level, and I don't feel like I could come in and do anything with that. But I mean, if it was like more Frieza characters they brought on and stuff like that from that race, I think I could do that, because you haven't heard a voice for those. Because I always say that's one thing. Once you put a voice on a character, that's the voice you hear for that character until they really change it. So I would love to do that.
I think they've all been distinctly different, but they've fully committed to that role. So that's like why they got to own that role. So I think you can do it, man. I think if that opportunity ever came up and you just went in there fully committed to it, I think you'd be able to make it sing, man.
Oh man, I would try. I would give it my full heart, but I don't know if I'll be able to pull it off, man. I wouldn't, low-key, I wouldn't even be hurt by it. I'll be like, you know what? As long as y'all pick somebody, when I hear them and they talk and it sounds like Frieza to me, y'all pick the right person.
Totally fair.
Before we go, I just want to thank you for all your amazing work and for bringing some of our favorite characters to life, and also for coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you, man, for bringing me on. I really appreciate you taking the time and just wanting to talk to me. I appreciate it.
Oh, man, I'm glad that you came on to talk to me. You know what I mean? You are the star. I'm just a nobody.
Nah, man. You're the star in my life right now, man.
And with that, we end today's episode. Again, I just want to thank my guests for coming on and chatting it up with me. I had a lot of fun, learned so much more about the industry of voice acting, and hopefully you listeners did too. Before we close out, I just want to allow my guests the opportunity to plug themselves, basically tell everybody where they can find you. I know a lot of voice actors are going to Blue Sky now, so if you want to give us your Blue Sky account.
Yeah, absolutely. If you first of all, thanks for tuning in, guys. Thanks for listening. If you guys want to give me a follow, I'm on pretty much all social medias: Twitter, X, Instagram, Blue Sky, and Twitch as well. Under mostly the same handle. It's ACK, which is ACK _ Alex. And yeah, you can find me really anyway on there. And if you want to just give me a follow, appreciate it. But never expected, never needed. But thank you, guys.
For sure. If you guys got any questions that I didn't ask during this interview and you're like, oh man, I wonder how that is in the industry, go ahead. I'll have all his links and stuff posted below. And with that, I just want to say peace.
Later.